Hello everyone, let's start with a new chapter today after Blenheim. It is written by Robert Southey and this poem was written in 1796. Now this poem is actually about a battle that took place in southern Germany. So after Blenheim, Blenheim is a place and this war took place in Blenheim. Now this poem is an anti-war poem. Here the poet is actually criticizing the war or the conditions when people they actually suffer because of war. See, the second point says destruction caused. Now of course I'm sure you all know if there's a war there's a lot of destruction which is caused because of these wars. Then victims of war, there are people they suffer just because of these wars. There is no fixed reason why these wars they take place, but because of these wars, because of some political issues, victims or the common people are the ones who suffer. Then we have senseless, futile and evil. So these wars, they are senseless. Even the people who are actually fighting or who are there in the war, they have no idea why they are actually killing each other. So these wars are senseless. They are futile. Futile means it is fruitless. Maybe they fight, they have no idea who will win, but they keep on fighting, losing their own lives. Not only their lives, but also the lives of the loved ones. Evil, of course, it's a kind of an evil. Why? People, not only the ones who are fighting, not only the army, soldiers, but even the common people suffer. Last, seek peaceful solutions. So rather than having these wars, rather than having these battles, the higher authorities or the people in the political parties should seek some peaceful solution in order to avoid these wars which are somewhat futile. Now let's start with this poem. It is very important. So let's read it. It's a kind of a story. I really want you to learn it in a form of a story. I'll give you a short summary of it before we start with it. Now the scene starts where this grandfather, he's sitting outside his cottage in the sun. He's relaxing. He has completed his work. He's all tired. And this grandfather is sitting there in the sun. Right next to him on the ground, his granddaughter is playing. Right? And while he was relaxing, enjoying the sun, there came his grandson with something in his hand. Now his grandson, he was playing near the river and he must have found something. He got that thing towards his grandfather. He came with this thing to his grandfather and he questioned. He wanted to know, what is this? The moment his grandfather saw the skull in his hands, he took a deep sigh and he felt really bad for the victims or for the ones who lost their lives during the War of Blenheim. So his grandfather, he saw the skull and at once he recognized that skull. Right? So he tells now the moment these children, they saw the skull, they had many questions in their mind and they kept asking questions from their grandfather. Now grandfather, he tells them that, see, these skulls are not a big thing. Every day when I plow, when I, work in the fields, we do get too many skulls which are buried in the ground. These skulls are the skulls of those people who actually lost their lives in the War of Blenheim. Now kids, they were really excited and they wanted to know what is that one thing that they actually fought for. Now, even the grandfather had no answer. He told his grandchildren that what they fought for, I have no idea about it. But I know one thing, that the people used to say it was a great war. Why they fought, for what they fought, he had no idea. He only knew one thing, that it was a famous victory. So he keeps on repeating it again and again. However, kids, they are curious. They were not at all satisfied with their grandfather's answers and they kept on questioning him. Right? So let's go through this poem. You can take it in a form of a story. It's a nice short poem. So let's start with it. It was a summer evening. Old Caspar's work was done. So old Caspar here is the grandfather. His work was all done. It was summer evening. And he, before his cottage door, was sitting in the sun. And it was the evening time. He was sitting outside his cottage door in the sun. And by him, spotted on the green, his little grandchild, William. So just right next to him, who was sitting and playing? His granddaughter, William. She saw her brother, Peterkin, roll something large and round. Now while she was sitting next to her grandfather, she saw that her brother had something that was big and large and round. He was rolling it and bringing it towards them, which he beside the rivulet and playing there had found. So what he had found? He had found a skull while he was playing beside the river. Rivulet is river. He came to ask what he had found that was so large and smooth and round. So finally he came to his grandfather. He wanted to know what is it that is so large, smooth and round. Of course it was a skull. See the third stanza. Old Caspar took it from the boy, who stood expectant by. Expectant means the boy was eager to know what is it. So he was standing there with his eager eyes, with his eager look. He was expecting an answer from his grandfather. And then the old man shook his head. So how he shook? He shook his head like this. He was feeling sad. And with a natural sigh, and with a deep breath, what he said? It's some poor fellow's skull, said he, who fell in the great victory. So he says, it is, I'm sure, the skull of a poor fellow who must have died in the great victory. We'll continue in the next video. Thank you.